Welcome. Welcome everybody to day five of shame-free parenting. I keep getting the words shame-free and shame-based mixed up. I'm like, welcome to shame-based parenting. We will teach you how to parent with shame. Okay, so good morning. Thanks for being here. For those of you that are listening on the podcast app or watching the replays or whatever, as you go through it, I would love to hear your insights or your takeaways or questions that you have, or if you're like, no, I don't understand this part, send me a message either on Instagram or you can email me at crystal@coachcrystal.ca. So welcome. Thanks for being here. If you are new today, if this is your first day tuning in with us live, type a one in the chat. If you've been here for more than one of the days, type a two in the chat, just so I kind of know where everybody's at. So one in the chat if this is like your first day live, two in the chat if you've been here at least one other time. Okay, one-ish. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Two. Perfect. Okay. So we're gonna review the last 4 days for just a little bit. We're gonna talk about how things have been shifting and changing for us, and then we're gonna dig into day five. And day five is gonna be awesome. And also, all of the video and audio replays will be available until Sunday night. So if you want to re-watch, if you want to show them to your spouse, if you want to catch up on the ones that you missed or whatever, that will be available to you until Sunday night. I'm also going to stay on. I'm going to talk about my new group program, Shame-Free Parenting, for anyone that wants to join and continue doing this work that we've been doing all week, and see even more results, even more changes and shifts. Come join us there. And also, I will stay on if anybody wants any coaching or has any questions live. I don't have a call right after this, so I can stay on after that as well. So, okay. So let's share our screen today and get into it. There we go. Okay, so let's review. Let's start with the S and the H and the A. Okay, so the S and the H and the A day of the Unshame method were about deconstruction. That means taking apart things that maybe we believe, the things that maybe we don't want to keep anymore, things that we're like, no, that doesn't feel good to me, and breaking that down. And yesterday, if anybody missed yesterday, we did a really beautiful exercise to move the energy through our body, because one of the things about shame is that shame gets stuck in our body. It's so much more of an unconscious, so much more of a feeling, so much more of a body system than thinking system. If it was just a thinking system, we could all think our way out of it, right? We could just be like, oh, I don't want to think that thought anymore. I'll just think a different thought about myself. I'll just make sure that shame still that doesn't get into me. But that's not possible. I posted a Reels yesterday and just said some of the phrases that you guys have been coming up with over the week that your parents maybe said to you, or you saw other people say, like, shame on you, or I'm so ashamed of you, or why didn't your sister do that? Or why couldn't we be more like your sister? Like all of those kind of words that people used at us. And sometimes they were tone of voice, sometimes they were just a look. Like you can spread shame without saying a word, without opening your mouth. But those ways of being interacted with when we were a child left these tiny little wounds within our system. And we have to actually consciously do something to shift that to heal those parts. Okay. So S was see the shame. So what we did that day was we figured out how does shame feel in my body? What does it feel like in my body? How would I describe it to somebody else? And then all we did was just notice it throughout the day. Does anybody have any experiences with the S part of it? Put that in the chat if you were like, yes, I tried this and it worked well, or it didn't at all. I remember a couple of you said that you were able to feel more connected to your kids that day. Somebody said they had more connection before bedtime that day. Someone said that they had a more peaceful, she said an unusually peaceful after school time, just from feeling more calm throughout the day, just by tuning into the shame in her body. So if anybody had any experiences with that, you can type that in, share with us in that chat box down below. The H was hone in. Hone in was, what do I really want my parenting to be like? So I know that I don't want it to be the shame-based way, even though sometimes it does creep in, but what do I want it to be like? And we talked about some really beautiful things like connection, compassion, empathy, letting our children be themselves, letting us be ourselves. What else did we say? Helping them feel safe, helping them feel known and loved. There was some really beautiful stuff there. So if anyone has any experiences or questions, comments about that, you can type that in also. And then the A was awareness. So we talked about awareness, both of our thoughts and our feelings, right? Not just only noticing how shame feels in my body, but also maybe noticing the thoughts that are happening as I'm noticing that I'm kind of spreading shame or I'm feeling shame, what's happening within my mind. And the exercise that day was to go, because every day we had a little like homework activity, right? And the exercise that day was to go home and either do a thought dump where I'm writing out all of my thoughts and just noticing the thoughts that are there, either about me or about my child or about my parenting or whatever, or the feeling part of it. So tapping into how I'm feeling and allowing all of those feelings. Okay, I'm going to go to the chat here. Okay, my child had a potty accident at preschool, and wow, I noticed how much was happening in my body from feeling shame that he had his hiccup. Oh, yeah. Isn't it interesting? Like just the other day, someone was saying that they noticed shame in like the parking lot, chatting with a friend or chatting with somebody at school, that they were like, whew, it just like came right up. And so when that happens, when I notice the shame, there's two things that I do. One I'm going to do is just I'm going to sit and just feel it. And sometimes that's all I do. And that can be just as effective. I'm just going to sit. I'm going to describe the feeling in my body, like the sensations, like it feels hot. It feels like heavy. It feels like my thoughts are spinning, whatever that is for you. I'm going to feel that way. And then the other thing I can do is I can tune into the thoughts that I'm having about myself, just to notice like what is underneath this. Because above the surface, it might be like, oh, this is so annoying, or like they're too old for this, or I wish this didn't happen or whatever. But underneath the surface, there's probably going to be something else that is a little bit more connected to my own enoughness. Something like I must have done something wrong, or I'm not a good mom, or this shows bad on me, or whatever, something that is more intertwined there. And if you didn't come on Wednesday we did a good meditation separating this me from my child and their behavior. Okay, Amy, I sat with a feeling when my daughter had an emotional breakdown. This was after I already reacted by braking the vehicle aggressively, but then I just let the vehicle idle and I listened to my daughter cry and I felt the sick tar feeling of my own shame. Yeah. Oh, it's a hard thing to talk about. It's a hard thing to think about. It's a hard thing to like recognize and acknowledge like this is what is happening within my body and it happens all the time. But do you remember that quote where we talked about in a petri dish, shame thrives exponentially with secrecy, silence, and judgment? So as I judge myself for how I reacted, as I judge myself for how I responded in a way that I didn't want to, or how different it was from how I want to be, or whatever, as I don't talk about it, as I pretend like it didn't happen, as I don't share these kinds of stories, it just builds and gets bigger. One of the things that I think has been so fascinating is like the side things that have gotten better as I've worked on shame. So over here, I'm like noticing that shame is a problem. I'm working on myself. I'm changing. I'm healing. I'm doing all of this work. Specifically in my parenting and my relationship with my kids, I wasn't trying to stop yelling, but that actually just did happen on its own. I wasn't trying to have a better relationship with my husband, but that also happened. I wasn't trying to have a better relationship with my business, but that also happened. All of these other beautiful experiences I was able to have because of just working on it in one area. Um, okay, anybody else want to share any of the homework from the S, H, and A day? See the shame, hone into the kind of parenting that you want. A is awareness, awareness of what's happening within my body, within my physical body, also within my thoughts. Feel free to share those. Okay. I was chatting with somebody yesterday. Actually, let's take a moment and let's just tap into our feeling state for a second because we forgot to do that. So shake your body, move around however you want. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to do just 3 simple breaths. We're going to do in through the nose. And as we exhale, we're going to imagine that we've just blown up a huge balloon and we're letting go and we're releasing the balloon and we're just going. Okay, so everybody go at your own pace. Inhale deeply and slowly. Hold it for just a moment at the top. Imagine you're filling up that balloon and now you're just releasing it. And you're kind of shaking your body, moving your body. We're going to do that 2 more times. You can close your eyes if it helps, holding it for a moment at the top. And again, just releasing that balloon. 1 more time. Imagining just all of the energy kind of leaking out your fingers, shifting it out. And then we're just going to tap in. You can put your heart, your hands on your heart, tap into how we are feeling. It can be a feeling word. It can also be a description. It can also just be high energy, low energy. Everything is welcome within our body, within our life, within our experience. It is okay for us to feel all the feelings, to feel all the energy, to be up, to be down, to be neutral. All of this is a welcomed and accepted part of our journey. It is safe in my body to feel however I'm feeling. We're going to settle that in with one more breath in through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes, type in the chat how you're feeling, either a feeling word or energy state, physical sensation within your body. It is all welcome. Okay, welcome Carmen, Steph, Kristen, hi. Okay. So type those in, how you're feeling, what's coming up for you. Also, if you have any experiences with any of the homework that we've been doing this week, or any aha moments, any learning moments that you want to share, type those in as well. Amber, low energy, calm. Okay. I was just watching a video yesterday on energy being regulation, that it doesn't matter so much the names of what we're feeling, but it's more of like how much of it are we feeling, or is it high? Is it low? Is it medium? Does it match the situation that we're in? Anyone else? How are we feeling? Welcome, Stephanie. Okay, we're just tapping into how we're feeling today, just taking a moment to tune in, typing in whatever we're feeling, either an emotion word, high energy, low energy, physical sensation. All of it is welcome. Fast, tense, but calm. Yeah, it's interesting. During the ages of about 5 to 7, our brain starts to develop this thing called mixed emotions, where we're able to actually feel more than one thing. So when your kid's little and they're mad, if you've ever seen a toddler that's mad, they're just like all mad, like all of them are mad and there's no room for anything else but mad. And as we grow and age and kind of develop emotionally, we're able to hold more than one emotion at once. Although sometimes I feel like we get stuck in those modalities, like not necessarily moving through the emotional developmental phases because we didn't have that secure of an attachment in childhood. Okay. Anybody else want to type in? Feel free to type in. Also, any experiences that you've had this week with shame. So yesterday I was at a homeschooling co-op that I go to, which is regular. I was chatting with somebody new about coaching and about what I do and whatever. And we were talking about shame. And she had such a good example, because it's really hard to kind of right off the bat be like, yes, this is when I felt shame and this is what was happening. But as we talked about it, she was just like, ooh, I think I feel it when my kids get hurt. And she was like, I wonder what's under that. And so it was just interesting that we talked about it, that she was like, when my kids get hurt, I immediately go to frustration. When I don't want to go to frustration, I want to go to compassion, but I can't go to compassion because I just automatically go to frustration. That is shame. That is some belief under the surface, some subconscious pattern that came from my own childhood that is that block. Remember, we talked about how shame is like the wall full of bricks that is blocking us from how we want to parent. So over here, we're like, oh, I want to feel compassion when my kid gets hurt. But actually, what I feel is frustration. And this block that's blocking us from that is those shame-based beliefs about ourselves. There is something within that conversation. We didn't dig into it, but there's something within there that's making her feel frustration instead of compassion. And it's more of a belief about herself than it is about the actual situation or what's happening. It's something within inside. And for most people, it's going to be something like something's wrong with me. Maybe like I can't keep my kids safe, or I'm not capable of this. It also could be I don't matter. My feelings don't matter. I don't belong. I'm not enough. I'm too much. Those kinds of beliefs are usually the under the surface beliefs. And that's actually a great way to dig into what yours is when you are feeling that strong emotional activation, you can ask yourself, you can even go back to a memory when you felt that. You can ask yourself, why did that bother me? What is underneath that? What about that bothered me? And you keep asking yourself that several layers deep, and eventually you get to one that either feels so hard and fast and true that it's like stuck, or it feels emotional. Like there'll be a ping of emotion that you get that you're like, ooh, that's the one. Like my eyes often well up with tears because I'm like, oh, yeah, there it is. That's the one. And that's what we want to be getting to, because then we can sit with the feeling. We can do some of the subconscious work. You can go back through these exercises that we've done throughout the week and move through that as well. Feel free to ask questions as we're going through this as well. So In order for shame to move through our bodies, it needs us. It needs us seeing it. It needs us feeling the feeling in our body. It needs to, we need to have this idea of how do I actually want to parent? What do I want to get to? And how can I get there for myself first? So much of shame is how can I get there for myself first? My own little inner child is freaking out saying something. One of those little limiting beliefs that I just mentioned, those false beliefs that I just mentioned, and it doesn't need to just be ignored or pushed away. If you have a child who just really wants something, like you're at a store and they're just like, they really want your attention, they really want to tell you something. And the more you ignore them, they don't just like walk away, right? The more you ignore them, they're like, mom, 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 like over and over and over again until you're finally like, yes, what is it, right? That is exactly what our inner child does. Our inner child is exactly like that little child that's like, by the way, by the way, by the way, there is something here, there's something here. And we continue to ignore it and it just gets louder and louder. So if we take the time even just to notice like what's underneath that, or, oh, how's this feeling in my body? That can be really helpful. And that's the A around awareness. And that the shifts need to happen on a conscious and unconscious level because so much of this work isn't just conscious. There's like patterns that are under the surface that we have to dig into as well. And if we don't consciously like decide like, oh, this is something I'm going to work on, I'm going to dig into what's happening under the surface here, it's not just going to get better. It's not just something that like in 5 years you'll notice like, oh, I feel so much better. It doesn't happen that way. I remember, there's that phrase that says like time heals all wounds. It doesn't always. If we're not actively working on healing the wound, then it's just going to like fester and it's just going to like collect boils and it's just going to get dirty in there. And we're just going to keep having those wounds. We have to do something. And that something is always, how can I get to self-compassion? Self-compassion is the antidote to shame. So the more welcoming, loving, empathetic, accepting of my own self I can be, the more I'll be able to move through this. And you remember I shared the sweet little audio clip yesterday of my client Camille, and it was I think season 6, episode 25. And I shared I think it was about minute 12, and I shared her saying that she heard my story on the podcast because she was looking for parenting support, and she felt like for years and years and years she thought parenting was just going to come naturally, that she would be able to have this beautiful family life that she wanted, and it just was not happening naturally. So she found me on the podcast app, and she listened to my story, and she thought that could be mine. That could be mine too. And she moved from the space of like hoping that it was just going to happen naturally and not knowing what to do to having her kids argue less, to having more beautiful homeschooling moments with her kids because she homeschooled. I remember this story that she told me where her kid got really angry and normally she would have just got really angry back. And she was able to notice her own shame, move through that, go and sit beside him on the bed and just actually allow his anger. And as she sat there beside him, she realized that she couldn't remember any moment in time in her parenting where she had actually been fully energetically allowing herself to allow his anger. That there was always some underneath the surface, like, no, 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 I need you to feel better, instead of just allowing it. And he was able to move through it so much more quickly. Okay. It was her reactions that changed as we did this work. It was her ability to get to compassion. She said, I had this vision of my family and parenting that I thought would just come naturally. And after years and years, it didn't come. She wanted deep connected relationships. So after she started this work, she truly leaned into compassion and connection and started to notice how her body and her mind deal with her emotions. And doing the work on shame has been transformational for her. Okay. So yesterday, M, who has an experience with M? Type a 1 in the chat if you were like, yes, I was able to either write down beliefs that I want to believe for my child, in my child, or I was able to maybe like see that maybe they're possibly true. I was able to practice the belief in some way. We're going to talk about more about this today. But does anyone have an experience with manifestation within parenting doing your exercises yesterday? So we talked about what do I want to call in? Like what, if anything was possible, what would I want to have happen for my child? What beliefs do I want to practice? And remember that imagery of the tree? We see like the branches and the fruit on the outside of the tree. And like, that's what we see that we want for our child. We're like, oh, I want them to be empathetic and responsible and hardworking. And I want them to love themselves. And I want them to go after their dreams. Like that is all the fruit at the outside of the tree. But then we have these roots, and the roots are their own beliefs about themselves. And we can consciously, intentionally breathe beliefs into them, even before they believe them for themselves. And I've seen this happen. I shared an example of both the positive and the negative breathing beliefs into my kids. We are doing it regularly, even if we don't notice that we are. And so it's beautiful to, once we can break down that shame and get to a more neutral spot, be like, well, now what I want to build. This is the reconstruction part. How do I want my parenting to be? And if I could breathe any beliefs into my kids, what would I want to that to be. Okay, does anyone have any experience with that or any beliefs that they want to share that they were like, yes, this is the one that I really want to breathe into my kids? Because we're going to talk a little bit more about this today because the E and the M are connected. Manifestation. And also remembering that as you're thinking about the beliefs that you want to breathe into your kids, remembering that quote from Michelle Obama that I shared yesterday, I never felt it was my job to create some version of mini-me's who are going to live out some brokenness in me, right? So we get to decide, like that meditation that we did, day 3, we get to split our own enoughness from our kid, them, their behavior, their choices, who they are. And when we can do that, as our control decreases, our influence increases. And we truly can breathe some really beautiful beliefs into them that over time we can see them start to take on. That is actually what I think coaching is all about. I think that life coaching is I get to breathe beliefs into my clients that I see for them that they don't see yet. That I have so much empathy and love and compassion and acceptance for them that when they're in that energetic space, they can feel it. And over time, they start to believe it until they believe it all the way. And it's really fascinating because usually I have people come in and they kind of do a little intake of like, where am I at right now? And where do I want to be? And usually where I want to be seems impossible. They're like, what? There's no way I can get there. And my very favorite sessions are always the ones at the very end when we're finished working together, which is usually about 12 weeks or so. And we look back and they're like, what? I used to believe that about myself, because they're so ingrained in these new beliefs that they don't even remember the past beliefs. Those are my absolute favorite sessions, just to show them like it is possible. We can believe something different about ourselves. Okay, beliefs you want your kids to have about themselves. Type those in the chat. Any beliefs you want to have, you want them to have, because we're going to talk about that today. So even just think of one belief that you want your child to have. And you need to think of at least one. You don't have to type it in the chat if you don't want to, but at least write it down on your paper, because the next exercise is going to be to do with that. So if you missed yesterday, we were talking about if there's something that I really want to see on the fruits of my child's tree, if I want them to, like, if they were to leave the house tomorrow, what's the most important thing to me? That's showing you your values, your own personal family values and individual values. If that's what I want my kids to have in the end, if they were leaving tomorrow, then what beliefs would they need to have about themselves? Who that already shows this fruit has that belief that I can think of and think like, well, what do I think they believe about themselves? It can be really simple. It doesn't have to be big. Okay. I'm capable to work through hard things. Yeah. And even just like the tiniest little belief of I'm capable. Imagine if you believed that for him right now or for her right now, that she's capable. She's totally capable. Okay, Elena, one of mine gets easily triggered by her sibling. She had helped one yesterday and made a mistake, and when he pointed out, she started to lose it. Oh, this would be really triggering for me. I was able to recognize in that moment she was feeling shame and was able to meet her with empathy and teach him, and it made me feel like I'll be better equipped to instill beliefs like my mistakes don't define me. Oh, that is beautiful, right? You were able to recognize like, oh, this is her shame. She's throwing that laundry because he probably threw it at her and then she was like, ah, and then like she's feeling it and then she's gonna like throw it at you, right? And you're just like, oh, wait a second, I can drop this. I can see that it's actually shame within her and not be triggered. And if it's okay for me, then maybe it's okay for her too. That's beautiful. So belief my mistakes don't define me. Mistakes are okay. It is safe to make mistakes. I am safe in my body to make mistakes. I am here on earth to make mistakes. Making mistakes is actually all that I'm supposed to be doing because that is the only way I can learn, right? How many beliefs can we instill in them that have to do with like breaking down those mistakes? I am me. I am enough regardless of what I do or don't do. They are loved and capable. That's beautiful. Yeah, they are loved and capable. I want my kids to believe that they are confident, proactive, and have the power to choose or create their own paths. These are great. Okay, so keep those in mind because we're going to do a little exercise with them. I am worthy of love. Oh, that one is beautiful. That's the belief I want to have about myself too, right? I also am worthy of love. If you think about all these beliefs, these are the beliefs I want to have about me, and they're also the beliefs I want to have about my kids. Okay, so evidence. I want you to take one of those beliefs. You can do more than one if you have time, one of those beliefs. And I want you to imagine for 60 seconds, we're going to do an exercise, and you have to pretend that you already believe this about your child. Maybe part of you believes it, maybe not all of you believes it yet. For 60 seconds, we're going to pretend that 100%, 110% of us believes this about our child already. And for 60 seconds, we're going to do a thought dump, stream of consciousness, everything that comes to mind. Why is this already true? Why is this belief true for my child? Go. Pen, writing, 60 seconds. Why is this belief already true for my child? Okay. Your video's off, so I can't see if you're done. Type of one in the chat. Were you able to write down some evidence of why this is already true for your child? Or two, was it too tricky to get to and you're like, no, it's absolutely not true? Okay, one or two. One is, yes, I was able to see some evidence that this is already true. Two is, no, I can't. I can't get there yet. I can't see that it's true. Okay, Amy one, Steph one. And there's no right or wrong here. You can be a one or a two. We can work on both of those things. I'll give you exercises for both. Anyone else? Are you at a one or a two? Okay, one, one. Okay, any twos? It is fine to be a two. Just because everybody else is a one does not mean you have to be. We get to welcome all things here. Okay, one. I can see it for them. Can't remember the number. Sorry. Okay, awesome. That's fine. That was number one. Okay, so everybody got to one. Perfect. New exercise. Close our eyes. Deep breath. Now, I want you to sit in the belief that it is true. All of the evidence that you just wrote down, think about that. Think about all of the reasons why this belief for them is already true right now, is wholly true right now for them. Notice how that belief feels energetically in your body. Maybe grounded or sturdy, maybe open, hopeful. Sit with this feeling. Turn it up. Feel it as much as you can feel. If all of this evidence is true, if this belief is already true, how does it feel in our body? Breathe into it deeply in through the nose, slow and deep out through the mouth. Take your pointer finger and your thumb, push them together. And on the next exhale, we're going to shake the body out and then open our eyes. Okay. That is how that belief feels in your body. I want you to imagine what would change for you in your parenting if you parented from that belief. If you parented from that feeling, remember, think, feel, do. My thoughts create my feelings fuel my actions. If I believe this belief for my child right now, what would I do differently? How would I treat them differently? How would I show up differently? How would I interact with them differently? What would I have them do or not do? What would I say or not say? 60-second thought dump. What is different when I parent from this feeling? when I be from this feeling? When you've written down a few things, share those in the chat. What is different for you? Mm. Okay. So take a pause on that thought dump. You can work more on it later also. And write down in the chat what is different about your parenting. How do you treat them differently? How do you respond to them differently? Okay. She is capable. I feel less stressed about keeping her safe or hovering around. My nervous system feels more calm. I have an 8-month-old. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I just feel more calm. I'm like, it's good. We're good. We got this. I think of that word as like trust. For me, trusting is like this calm nervous system state. When I trust that it's happening, she's developing exactly how she's supposed to, everything is going to be fine. That is how I feel. Okay, who else? Amy feeling exultant, ugly crying. Aw, is that why your video's off? You guys can all keep your videos off so that you can ugly cry, by the way. I love sessions like that. My parenting will be less tiptoeing, more embracing her, more trusting her, more being me on the side. Yeah, I get to be me over here. They get to be them, and it's beautiful. I feel like I would parent from a lighter place, as if I've taken a heavy rock out of my backpack. I feel like instead of focusing on the rock, I could delight in him. Yeah. This is so beautiful. Less questioning of choices and trusting their decisions. Yeah. Be like, wait, they're on their own path. This is for them. This is what they need. Cool. Go make those mistakes. That's good. I will get there. I would be more focused on letting my kids feel safe and secure when they make a mistake. Yeah. Isn't this beautiful? And all this came from was I get to choose a belief right now for my child that I want to intentionally put in them. Because we're unintentionally putting beliefs in them all day long. We know that's just what we do when we are driving on autopilot. And also, parenting in a shame-free way doesn't mean that I'm not ever going to do that. Like, we are mistake people, we are human people. We're going to do that. That's fine. But I love this idea of I can also breathe beliefs into them that are beautiful right now. It feels like trust. It feels like relaxing and easeful. It feels more regulating for my nervous system. So, part of manifestation is believing something before I see any evidence of it, right? So, yesterday we just wrote up the beliefs and like we had no idea if there was evidence of it. We just wrote up the beliefs anyways. Manifestation is believing something is possible with seeing no evidence of it yet and creating it into existence. Everything is created in the subconscious state first. It's always created in consciousness before it's created in reality. So we get to decide that we can believe something even before we see any evidence of it. I don't know if I've shared this story yet. I've shared so many stories, but I don't think I've shared this one. So I have this one kiddo, super cute. His name's Oscar. A few years ago, I was working on this manifestation stuff and kind of like doing it myself and practicing myself. And I had this idea. I'm going to choose a belief that I don't believe at all yet and see if I can switch it in a week. So this is my belief. My belief about him was that he never listens. This was like a 110% belief. Like I was like, absolutely, he does not ever listen to me. That is how much I believed it in the beginning. And I thought, what would it be like if I just chose the opposite belief for the week? Because our brain has this confirmation bias thing, this RAS system, and all it does is show us all of the evidence of what it thinks that we already want to believe in the first place, and it's not going to show us the evidence of the opposite. So I knew that, and I thought, I'm going to trick it for a week and just see, is it possible that I could be wrong about this? Is it possible? I'm just going to work just for a week and decide that he actually does listen. So work on this belief every day. Of course, it's like popping in. It's like, no, he doesn't listen. I'm like, nope, he listens. How does he listen? How can I see that he does listen? By day 3, I was like, whoa, there has been so many times in the last 3 days that he's listened right off the bat. Weird. By day 5, I was 100% in the other belief. Like he actually does listen so much more than he doesn't. He listens really well. And I was like, what is happening? That is manifestation in parenting. That is evidence. That is, I just chose to believe something new before I even saw evidence of it. And then I allowed my brain to search for that evidence. We can reframe our stories. We can live into trust, and we get to decide what we want to believe. Trust equals a regulated nervous system. When I'm living in the trust state, when I'm believing that it's possible, when I'm believing these beautiful beliefs about my child, I have a regulated nervous system. That regulated nervous system leads to co-regulation, where my calm becomes their calm, where my calm is contagious for them, where my energy is contagious for them. And it leads to creating a safe space for ourselves and also for our kids. Also, it is creating that container for growth and for change and for peace and for connection in a really safe way. Even if there is no evidence, there is no downside. There's no downside to believing in them. There's no downside to believing whatever I want to believe. I could choose to believe in fairies, which I sometimes do. There's this place about a half an hour away from where I live that's really magical. I love going into the canyons there. And there's this little spot in the canyons where everything is really steep and high. You're walking through this little tiny river, and there's green moss on the side, and there's sprinkly little water droplets that come down and they sparkle. And I just think, if fairies exist, they live here. That's what I think every time I go there. I can choose to believe in fairies because I like how it makes me feel, because it makes me feel a little bit more magical. It makes things feel a little bit more lighter and fun. It makes things feel a little bit more possible, even just normal life things. It helps me to change the world that I'm like, maybe there is some fairies in those little crevices. I get to decide that I'm going to believe that. Practice beliefs that serve you, and practice unbelieving beliefs that don't. Nobody else has to believe what you believe. Nobody else has to know that you believe in fairies. And you can just secretly be like, yeah, I believe in fairies. Like you don't have to tell anyone. You get to practice beliefs that feel good to you. And this is true about your child also. So you can practice beliefs that serve you and serve them. We don't have to get anybody else's permission to be like, should I believe this? No, we get to decide. And beliefs that clearly don't serve us, we can thank them for their service and release them. Thank you for being here. Thank you for keeping me safe all these years. There was a purpose for them. Your subconscious created them to keep you safe in some way. Any negative belief that you have was there to somehow protect you. And so when I get them, I'm like, not like, oh, I'm mad that this negative belief is here. I'm like, thank you. What did you do to protect me? What did you do to serve me? How were you a gift? And also, I can release that. Okay, the weight of making sure I do everything right would be lifted. I could just enjoy my family. Yeah. If it was all lifted and you're like, I just get a B. How cool is that? Okay, so belief work. If you're like, yes, I want this. How do I do this? How do I do this belief work? Well, first of all, join the Shame-Free Parenting movement, because this is the work we're going to do and it will be awesome. But also, if you're doing this work on your own, if well over 50% of me believes the belief, like if I'm like, yeah, I actually think it's pretty true that like my child is amazing. Like maybe that's a belief that I want to instill in them. And so I want to believe that in myself for them. I'm like, okay, cool. If I'm well over 50%, this is how I practice it. I'm going to feel the energy of it like we just did. Close my eyes, tap into the belief. How does it feel in my body? I'm going to notice, how do I show up when I'm feeling that feeling? Or I'm going to just describe the sensations to myself. I'm just going to sit there in the energy of it. I'm going to feel the energy of it. Another thing I can do is say it. I can say it out loud. I can say it over and over again. I can sing it. I can yell it, whatever I want to say it. I can think it over and over and over again. I can write it out. I can put it on a sticky note. I can find songs that feel like they tap into the energy of that. There's this beautiful song called Healing, Healing by Essie Jain. Yes, Essiejain. And it's beautiful and magical. And like every once in a while, there's a song that just hits me and I'm like, yes. And sometimes it'll even say the phrase that I have in my mind. So you can look that up on Spotify. If you have Spotify, by the way, just put the phrase in there, like I am loved, or I am capable, or I am healed, or I am worthy of love, whatever that is. You might actually find a song that helps you remember this energy too. Okay. So if well over 50% of me is in belief, I'm going to practice it in more of those conscious ways. Feeling the energy of it is a little bit more of the unconscious way, but that's also awesome. If I'm under 50%, like me, like not believing that my child listens at all, and I'm just like, I am not there whatsoever. There's other belief work that we're going to do. And the other belief work is unbelieving it. Unbelieving the thoughts that I think are true right now consists of me really questioning it. Is this actually true? Is there any facts that prove this is true? Is there facts that would prove the opposite? What would I say to my best friend about this? What would their best friend say? What would they say? Would they have this belief about themselves also? Or like, what are they thinking about this? Anytime I can ask myself deep questions like, is this thought even serving me? How do I show up in the world when I believe this belief about my child? Do I like that? Is there a way that I can somehow believe it right now before I can even see it? Is there other beliefs I've had in the past that I chose to believe before I even saw it? I had a belief like this. I have lots, actually. You probably also have lots. I have a belief when I wake up in the morning that I'm going to be like alive and like eat food that day or like brush my teeth or something. But a really simple example I can think of is learning to drive. When I first started learning to drive, it was really hard. There was zero evidence that I would learn to drive. Zero. There was probably negative zero. Like I remember getting in the car in the parking lot with my mom and her being like, let's just try. And I was like, I don't want to. And she was like, let's just try. And then she's like, and I was like, where's the gas? And she's like, you don't know what the gas is. You don't know what the brake is. I'm like, no, I don't pay attention when you're driving. Like I'm 15. So I start to go and then she says, okay, slow down. And I press the gas instead of the brake. She freaks out. And I'm like, okay, I told you I didn't know which the gas and the brake was. So there was actually zero evidence that I would ever be able to drive. But for some reason, probably because I'd seen so many people around me get it, I just kind of knew like eventually I'll drive. I had no idea when it was going to be. I kind of thought it was going to be pretty long into the future that I was going to figure that out. But there wasn't a part of me that was like, I'll be the only one in the world that will never figure out how to drive. I was like, no, I'll get it. I'll figure it out. Right? No evidence of it, but I believed it anyways. So we can choose to believe it anyways, but also we can work on unbelieving it, questioning those for ourselves. Make sense? Okay, there's another belief, and I'm going to show you this belief, and I want to know if it was on your belief list, the beliefs that you want to have for your kids. Okay, type a 1 in the chat if anybody had this on their belief list. Your children are good. Your child is good. Put their name in there. Oscar is good. Did anybody have this? 1. Awesome. I shared this on social media yesterday because I was like, it's so good. 1. Awesome. If it's not on your list, put it on your list because this is the quickest unshaming thought. If your children are innately good, if they want to choose good, if they want to be good, then when they're not doing good, we can go to like, oh, I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's taking them away from their natural state of being. Are they hungry? Are they tired? Is there something going on at school that I don't know about? Is there some relationship issues they're having? Is it that they haven't figured out emotional regulation yet because they're just not at that age and they're still learning and it's developmental? Also, if you have an elementary age kid, this can still be true. Are they neurodiverse and maybe you haven't been diagnosed yet? And also maybe it's going to take a little longer for them. Cool. Right? My questions are very different if I am believing the belief that my child is innately good, intrinsically good, wants to choose good, wants to be good. I do the same thing with my children are learning. As a homeschool mom, that's a beautiful belief to have. Because even if I don't do anything with them that day, I can believe that they're learning and I see evidence of that throughout the day. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, look at this thing that they just told me about. Look at this beautiful moment they just had. Okay, your children are good. So write that one down. And I want you to think about it. If you felt that, if you believed that, what would change for you? How would you show up differently in your parenting? How would it feel? I think it's an immediate shame squasher, right? It's like, oh, they're not trying to freak out and have this meltdown right now, right? It drops the shame, just like Alina's experience that she was sharing with her daughter, that she was able to like notice that her daughter was feeling shame and she was able to drop it instead of feeling triggered. That's what this thought does for me. Okay. How about this? Your children are good and you are too. Beliefs about yourself are going to get intermingled with the beliefs about your kid. If you're trying to practice these beautiful beliefs about your child and you don't believe it possible for you, it will always get in the way of blocking you from 100% believing that for your child. You can't believe that something's possible for someone else and it's not possible for you. You can't be like, oh yeah, it's okay. Like they're good and they're wonderful and they choose good, but also I'm not doing enough and I'm not enough and something's wrong with me, right? It will always get in the way of that belief work. The beliefs about yourself probably matter the most because when you can believe that about yourself, you can see that it's possible for other people. That's kind of what coaching is, right? I can believe that it's possible for myself. And so then I can be like, well, if it was possible for me and I was a pretty like wild and crazy parent, it must be possible for everybody else too. Okay. So beliefs about yourself matter. What beliefs would you want to have about yourself? Write down a couple. What beliefs, if anything was possible, if you were also allowed to believe in fairies about yourself, what are your fairy beliefs about yourself? Okay, write down at least one, if not more, beliefs you want to have about yourself. You can type those in the chat if you want. I would also love to hear, do any of you have to leave right on the hour? Because I'm going to go through this faster if you need to leave in like 10 minutes. It's 9:49 my time, but I don't know what that is in your time zone. Does anyone have to leave right on the hour? Type a 1 in the chat if you have to leave right on the hour. Okay. All right, we're going to go through this quick then. So we get to it. Okay. So take one of those beliefs out. You ready? We're going to do a meditation. Okay. Closing your eyes, relaxing a little, loosening your shoulders, maybe rolling your shoulders or your neck, taking a slow, deep breath. I want you to imagine a time where you felt triggered, a strong emotional activation of any kind. And in your mind, I want you to envision a child. You put all of that feeling in them. Whatever you're feeling with that emotional trigger, you put it in that child. You shove them full of this feeling and you watch them. Maybe they're in the dark corner of a room. They're feeling all of this. Is it sadness, hurt, anger, shame? You walk up to them and you watch them feel this feeling, and you see that they are you. Maybe you're 7, maybe you're 14. Look at your age. Look at what you look like. Notice how they feel. And as you sit with them, maybe you put your arm around them, maybe you just sit there. They tell you all the things they're thinking and feeling. Maybe they don't even say it with words. We just sit there and listen. Once we see that they've released all that they want to say, all that they're feeling, what do you think they need? You are them and they are you. You know exactly how they think and feel, and you know what they need. Give that to them. You haven't already told them this. Tell them you are good. The goodness is within you. It is who you are. You came here with that goodness, and no one and nothing you do or say can take that away. You are good. You see them relax into this belief, trust you, feel it. Their shoulders maybe relax. Maybe their head feels lighter. Maybe they lean into you and you rub their back or their shoulders or stroke their hair. As you embrace them, they fall into you. The two become one like a drop of water in the ocean. They are within you. You can feel them inside of you. You are good too. You feel that inside of you, and it spreads throughout your whole body. Again, we're going to lock in this feeling, taking your pointer finger and your thumb and pressing them together. Slow, deep breath. Shake or move the body. And then come back and open your eyes. Your children are good and you are too. That is the message that your inner child needs. That's the message that you need. That's the message that immediately gets rid of the shame. It dispels the shame in no time at all. And then you're able to parent in a way that you feel good about, in a way that spreads light, in a way that spreads love and spreads compassion. In the same way we spread shame, we can spread love and compassion. Have you ever been around someone that you just feel so loved by, that you get around them and you're like, they're just so fun, they're so loving, they're so compassionate, whatever you feel around them, just from being around them? I've met people like that. In fact, I remember the moment that I first met somebody like this, and I never even had a conversation with her, but she was speaking at an event that I was at. This was like probably 12 years ago. And as she came in and she spoke, I just felt when she said she loved us, I felt it. And I thought, that's what I want to be. That is what I want to be for people. A reminder to them of their goodness, a reminder that they are so loved without me even saying anything, to the person that I walk down the street by, to the person I interact with at the grocery store. Shame is the thing that is blocking true connection. And parenting is an inside job. Shame is the thing that is making compassion feel false or making compassion feel draining, like it's taking so much out of it. Shame is what's breaking our ability to truly co-regulate with our kids, to really help them share within our calm. Working through your shame is the most helpful thing that you can do. And it happens through community. It happens through calling it out. It happens through being witnessed, having other people witness what you're feeling, you speaking it, you sharing your stories. It happens through subconscious work, through breaking these neural patterns that you can't even see are there under the surface. Parenting is an inside job. Questions, comments, any takeaways that you had from today that you want to share in the chat? Please share. I would love to hear. Do you remember that quote that I shared about the Petri dish? I've shared it every day this week. Shame needs 3 things to grow exponentially: silence, secrecy, and judgment. If you douse it with the same amount of empathy, it can't survive. The shame-free parenting movement is the Petri dish in which we come together and we share our stories and we come in community and we are witnessed and we are held and we are supported and we do the subconscious work so that we can move through this. Just like Elena mentioned, she was able to notice in that moment a thing that would normally trigger her did not only not trigger her, she was able to notice with her daughter what was happening and she was able to drop that shame. That's what we're able to do in community, just like we did this week. It's exactly like we did this week, but continued. We're going to have 8 group coaching calls. We're going to start at 8 p.m. on Monday night, and all of the other dates will be TBA based on who is coming and the time zones that they're coming from. The most effective work we can do is in community with others when it comes to shame. It is even more effective. Even if you have a hard time addressing something that's happening within you, you can watch somebody else go through it and the shame can shift in your body. The neural patterns can change within your body. Even if you can't come live to them. I had a lady not ever be able to come live to a program that we were at, and she just watched them. She listened to them on her podcast app at like 2 times speed. And I met with her at the end of the program and I thought, I wonder what has happened for her. And as we were chatting about it, she told me these beautiful stories that she was able to connect with her kids, that she was able to help direct them with compassion and love, that she was able to feel better about herself and her parenting just by doing that. So don't feel like you have to come to every single call. Subconscious reprogramming will help you not just in parenting, but in other areas of your life. My business has changed. My relationship with my partner has changed. So many things have changed in my life as this one thing has changed. You work on shame in one area and it's going to spread to the other areas, that compassion, that love, that connection. On subconscious reprogramming calls I've had before where I've done like somatic breath work or hypnosis or hypnotherapy or something, some inner child thing, people have had really huge shifts. I've had people say that there's something that they felt like was blocked for years and years and years since like a child, and they were like older, like seniors, that shifted within them in those moments. So there's things that you might not even see are there. There's things that you might know are there, but feel like this is something that will never shift. That can happen at a subconscious level. Also community. We will have a beautiful community. It'll be on some platform. I'm not sure what platform yet, but it'll be like when I'm struggling, when I have a question, when I have Q&As, like I want to come and be witnessed here. It is curated for you to succeed. Sharing our stories, subconscious work, noticing our shame, speaking it out. And also we're going to have 3 dad calls. Like Zoom even is like thumbs up. Yes, you go. Because we want our husbands to be on the same board with us and to have the same language so that they know like, oh, I am feeling triggered. This is what this means. This is what I need. They can figure that out for themselves as well. And if your partner is not on board or if you don't have a partner, that is also fine. The research shows that you just need one healthy, secure, guided attachment in order to create emotional intelligence, emotional health. And I believe that to be true. I have seen that be true. So even if only one person changes, you actually have a lot of influence. So don't worry about it if your husband's like, I would never do this. That's okay. You get this all for $9.97. There is payment plans available. This is the lowest cost thing that I've done in a long time because I really want it to be so accessible to everyone. It's going to be intense. We're going to be doing a lot of calls. We're going to be meeting a lot. And there's some up-level options. If you're nervous about sharing openly, or if you want to have a call with maybe just for your partner that's individual, or maybe as a couple, there's an up-level option where you can get a discounted session. Charlene, thank you so much. I needed to hear that. It made me feel like everything is going to be okay. It was nice to meet you too, Charlene. Thanks for coming. Okay, so you can either send your husband to these one-on-one calls, or you can join it as well, or I can coach you as a couple. That's an up-level option. So if you want to do that, you can do that as well. And those are discounted from my regular sessions. And also, if you think you'd like more, if you're like, yes, this is the work that I want to do, and I'm here for it, and I'm ready for it, and I want it in a really in-depth way, this group Voxer program, this group Voxer add-on is going to be really awesome. It's like a walkie-talkie app. I have another walkie-talkie app group program happening. And it's beautiful. We share in there, we ask questions, we coach. I'm in there every day, Monday to Friday, and it really helps accelerate that learning and growth. Because I believe that shame is going to change. You've already seen shame change. If you've been here every day of the week, you've already seen it shift for you. So I know that it's going to work for you. And if you are in it for a week and you're like, nope, don't want to work on my shame, something else is for me, whatever, no questions asked, you can have a 7-day money back guarantee. And I feel like I'm my own best testimonial because years ago, I was very impatient. I was very just like behind closed doors, like hated the way that I was parenting. I was very rage filled. I had kids that were neurodiverse. It was really difficult to parent them. Over time, it started to get better. But once I started to learn this shame piece, things got better exponentially in a very short time. And there was extra things that happened that I wasn't even working on. Like I never worked on my kids fighting, and their fighting is so much down. Like they hardly ever argue, when they do, it fizzles out right away. It's only a couple of minutes. We enjoy spending time together. I love watching them grow. Their behavior has changed, especially within my neurodiverse kids. As I've been in that feeling of trust, that feeling of regulation, I'm able to truly co-regulate with them. And co-regulation is how you teach self-regulation, by the way. I haven't mentioned that this week before, but co-regulation is how you teach them to regulate their emotions. It's not through talking to them about it. It's not through telling them about it. It's through being in a safe, secure relationship in which you can feel that all of your emotions are okay. It's safe to be you, and my calm spreads to your calm. And I also feel really confident in any parenting challenges. Some wild parenting challenges have come up that I was like, ooh, didn't think that one was going to come, or oh, didn't expect that. And I know what to do. Even if they throw me a loop for like a day, I'm like, okay, wait, I got this. I know how to move through this. That is how I feel in my parenting now. So join the shame-free parenting movement. Just like Camille said, I listened to your story and I thought that could be mine too. This could also be yours too. I know that it could because I've done this with so many clients over and over and over again. And I'm most excited about this group because I know that shame can be released so quickly in community. And I want to do this work in community. Things will change, but not passively, not just by letting the hours pass by and the years pass by and being like, oh, someday it'll feel better. Like, no, it can actually change right now. We can intentionally decide this is the change that I want. So join me in this movement. Be part of this change. Let's stop throwing the dirty laundry around at everybody else. Stop throwing the garbage around at everybody else and drop it and be different and be able to spread more of that light, the little glimmers of light and love and compassion. And take a moment just to listen into, do I feel the ping? For me, the ping is this feels right in my body. This feels like the right thing for me. If it doesn't, no FOMO allowed. If it doesn't, if you're like, nope, something else is for me, go and find the something else that's for you. In fact, it will probably just come to you. But if you're feeling that ping, listen to it. Allow this to be a moment of trusting yourself and your feeling and your body and your choices and being like, yes, I know that this is what's right for me right now. And listen to that. That alone will change things. I shared this story yesterday, but I have a client a new couple that I'm working with who already started to see parenting shifts for 2 weeks before we even met on our first call. It started as soon as they decided. As soon as they made that choice and they decided to like pay and they were like, yes, okay, submit. Yep, I'm doing this. Their parenting got better and it's gotten better and better and better every week. So trust your gut. You'll know if this is for you. If it is not for you, there is no FOMO. I really, truly believe that our mentors, our teachers, our guides, our programs come to us in the moments that we need them for us. And if this one is not feeling for you, I trust you. I truly do. I'm like, you go find the thing that is for you. It will come for you. But if you're like, yes, whew, I'm feeling this is for me. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit nerve-wracking to open up and with my shame with other people. Maybe you're not used to investing in your mental and emotional wellness and you're like, oh, I'm nervous about that. Just trust that ping. Trust that little thing in your heart. It will be open until next Sunday. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday is when we'll close it. We are going to have 2 calls next week though. So if you already know that you want to sign up by Sunday night so you can come with us on our Monday call. I think the other call we're having is Thursday. We're going to have a subconscious reprogramming call this week, and we're going to have a group coaching call where we're going to get to know each other, figure out what it is, get really clear on what we want to get out of the program and how we want to feel at the end of it. And like I told you, my favorite sessions are when at the very end session, when we can be like, this is where I am now. It is beautiful. And not this is where I am now that all my behaviors changed, but this is where I am now with my belief, with my shame, with how I feel about myself. Okay. I'll message you later about that, Ashley. Okay. Any questions? Our first call's on Monday. Here's a QR code, but you can also go to coachcrystal.ca/group, GROUP. I'm actually going to put that in the chat. And I'm also going to stay on here and coach anybody who wants it and answer any questions that you have. coachcrystal.ca/group. There we go. And for those of you that are watching the recording, feel free to reach out to me on either Instagram or Voxer, the parenting coach on Instagram, the parenting coach on Voxer, and or email crystal@coachcrystal.ca. Okay. So I'm going to stand for questions and coaching until my back gets too sore and I want to sit down, and then I'll quit. Okay. If you want to be coached, you can raise your hand or you can type a question in the chat if you are coaching in the chat, or you can just type any questions in the chat that you have as well. So you can either raise your hand and unmute yourself. Just know that this recording is going to be like spread far and wide to people. So if you want to keep your video muted or your video off, that's totally fine. But I don't know how many people are going to watch this weekend. So keep your video off if you're not comfortable with that, or type it in the chat and we can just talk through it. Any questions, any coaching? If you don't feel like you have any questions, and if you feel like, yeah, I'm complete, type a 2 in the chat. Also, if you know that you already want to join us, type a 99 in the chat. I just thought of those numbers. If you're like, yes, I want to do this, I'm going to try and figure this out, 99 in the chat. Okay, I have a question, just thinking it through. Okay, keep thinking it through. You can unmute yourself if you want, if you're comfortable with that. Totally fine. Or you can type it in. I would love to answer any questions, especially about shame. It honestly can get to this space. And for those of you watching the recording as well, this is so true for you. It can get to this space where you actually feel excited when you feel triggered, because you're like, ooh, this feels terrible, but also here's another opportunity for my growth that I didn't see coming, that I didn't know it was going to be here. And so I dealt with all the shame stuff in parenting, and I felt like I moved through it really well and things were going really well. And then I started this business and I was like, oh my goodness, now there's all these other areas for me to be triggered. Then I moved to a new city and I'm like, oh, now here's some more areas. Like there's always going to be opportunities to do the work. And now I think of it as like a science experiment, like a big grand life science experiment where my whole life I just get to, now I get to notice the shame. I get to move it through it in my body. I get to learn and grow from it. And I get excited in those moments. Not all the time. Sometimes I'm just like, ugh, again. But most of the time, I feel pretty excited when it happens because I know what it's going to feel like at the other end, because I know that it actually feels better and ignoring my shame feels worse. 99. I want to join. I haven't done coaching for finances to figure out how to manifest funds for my well-being. Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a cool manifestation about money story that is pretty rad, actually. So I had a client this week who she crushed her hand. If you're watching this, I love you, sweet friend, but she crushed her hand in like a log splitter and she couldn't work for several weeks. And then she went back to the doctor and she was like, we have to work. Like, I can't make ends meet. She had this giant bill that was like $3,500 that was due at the end of the month. She's like, I don't have this money. I have to go back. So we were coaching over Voxer and she's just like, I got to go back to work, even though my doctor says that I'm not supposed to go back yet because I'm supposed to be waiting for healing. And she was like, I'm not, that's the only option. In our brain, it's like, these are the only two options and there's like no other options available. So all we did was work on regulating her nervous system, helping her move through her feelings, helping her feel calm. That's all we did. We didn't talk about anything to do with money at all. We just helped her get into a different energetic state. And when she did, the next morning, her dad came, saw the bill. She had talked to him about what was happening, took it and was like, I'm going to pay this. And she was kind of embarrassed. She didn't even want to kind of share it with me. And I was like, that's not embarrassing. That is the universe being like, here is what you need. I'm going to show you that there is a different way, that there never is just two options. Never, ever. When our brain tells us that there's only one or the other, all or nothing, there is never just two options, and that you are held and that you can trust and just lean into that. So that's manifestation, works in all the ways. So believe that too. Okay. Steph, did you figure out your question? You can unmute yourself. You can raise your hand on Zoom. You can type it in the chat.
Hey, I did.
Hi. Okay.
I don't know how to type it out. I was trying and I can't.
Totally
So
fine.
this is my question. You mentioned something about as parents, children only need like one emotional like
Mhm.
regulator or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like,
So I think of it as like a secure attachment. So
yeah,
secure
okay.
attachment is like, I feel safe, I feel held, I feel secure. That doesn't mean that it's perfect. In fact, secure attachment comes from also moments of disconnection and detachment and then repairing and reconnecting. And the very first parenting course I remember taking years and years ago, the very first thing they said was research shows that a child only needs one. It's beautiful and magical and amazing if they
Yeah.
have a whole village, but they only need one.
Okay, so do you think um like say for families who send their children to school,
Hmm.
like technically the children are spending more hours in their day with their school than
Hmm.
at home. So
Is it possible?
is it possible to still be a strong enough, like like it's almost sometimes it feels like a tug of war depending on the school.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's possible. Dr. Neufeld talked about this a little bit, and he just said, like, yeah, it's lovely if you can homeschool, but not everybody's doing that. And he said, I don't even think he did homeschool, actually. He said that his son was at the playground one time, and his son was getting bullied by these bigger kids at the playground. And he came home and told his dad about it. And his dad kind of was like getting a little, sad and was like, oh, what did you do? Like when they said those things to you? And he said, I told them my dad loves me. Something like that.
Oh,
And then he like went home or whatever and just like cried and was sad. And he said that is what happens when we have a secure attachment. We're the shield around their heart. They
okay.
care about what we care about them. They care about what we think about them. They feel loved and safe and secure and protected by us, so that it's actually like a physical shield around their heart, so that when things come in, it's still going to hurt, but it's not going to like break their little hearts.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That answers that
Welcome.
to me.
You're welcome. I remember hearing him share that story and I was like, yes, I love that. I love that. And that it's not time, right? I mean, take me as an example. For the first 4 years of my homeschooling, I did not add extra love or relationship. I thought, oh, I'm going to spend more time with my kids because that will help our relationship. No, spending more physical time with someone that you don't get along with doesn't just like naturally help your relationship. It was really, really hard. And I was like, why isn't this working? I decided to keep him home so that we could have this great relationship. I only homeschooled because of that. I had no ulterior motive except to try and work on my relationship with my child. And it got worse because I was spending more time with him than way more time than I had. And we constantly triggered each other. Um, that was way back in the day when my who's now 17-year-old was 5 and I very first found this work. And so you don't, I feel like the changes don't just come. Like you can't just be like, oh, I hope that it happens. Like you actually have to do some intentional work to get there, but that it is possible. And that once you do get there, it changes all the things for them. Like they're able to, within a secure attachment, you care what the other person cares about. You want to be close to them, physical proximity. You want to do things that make them happy. Like you care about their advice, you care about what they care about. I don't know if I shared this here or I was speaking at an event last week. I might have shared it at, it was so good, but it's an article that a friend of mine shared with me. I don't have it. She just explained it to me. And it was like Republicans versus Democrats. And it was like how to make your child a Democrat or a Republican or something. And it said that the number one thing that they've noticed is that if you have a good relationship with your parents, you will vote the way that your parents did. You will have the same, you will hold the same values that your parents did. If you don't have a great relationship with your parents, you're more likely to choose the opposite value system. So not just in your voting, but in everything. And I have so seen that this is true. It's like, wait a second, that's what you want. I better want the other thing. Even if that's not what I normally want, but I'm going to do the opposite just because I don't want to be the same as you. Right? So attachment, anyways, attachment can be really beautiful. And yes, you just need one. It can be beautiful when they have more than one too, but it really is just one. That was a great question. Is there any other questions or anyone who wants coaching? If you're like, I don't even know what that means. What does coaching mean? You can just type a question in the chat or type like, this is my struggle or this is what's happening for me. Anyone else? If you feel complete, type a 2 in the chat. And if you're like Amy and you're like, I really want to join, even if you haven't figured out for sure if you're going to, type a 99 in the chat. So I'm excited you're here as well. And I'm excited to work on this because really, truly, shame is my favorite topic. I just talked about it on an hour podcast interview that someone interviewed me yesterday. I felt spent, not sure where to ask for coaching, pleasantly spent. Yeah. And maybe there isn't any. Maybe you're just like, I feel like I got what I needed. And sometimes you just need space to help those things move through, to help them just like settle in. Like sometimes it's a lot. And we just need to give ourselves some openness and some space to kind of allow movement for those beliefs to kind of shift within us. I like to just go on walks. I like to drink water, snuggle in my bed, just take some time for like rest, just to let these things change within us. Okay, anyone else? I have to run. Thank you so much. Thank you, Steph. Thanks for being here. Okay. Everybody else is good? Type a 1 in the chat if you're good. Yes? Okay. You're welcome, Amy. Thanks for coming. Thanks for those of you that are watching the audio and video replays. I hope this has been helpful for you. The audio and video replays will be available until Sunday night. So you can go ahead and review those. You can go back and listen to them. We did some really great subconscious processes. If you missed some of those, almost every day we did one. So if there's one of the days that you missed, you might want to go back and review that. Okay. No questions, no comments. Eliza, I've learned so much this week and I have so much to process and apply. Yeah. And also realizing that the process and application is a lot more like it's all just kind of the same thing. Noticing my shame, moving through my shame, noticing through my shame, moving through my shame, and moving through my shame is feeling the feeling and bringing self-compassion to it. And the more that I can just do that and do that and do that and do that in multiple different ways, the more that I will notice those shifts happening. Yeah. Or join us in the movement and we will do those together. Okay. I think that's everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being here. It has been fabulous and we will see you soon. Hopefully we'll see some of you on Monday. Bye everyone.